Some of these Soviet planes were tiny, old, or just plain weird. But they ended up changing the skies of World War II, from nimble biplanes and fearless gliders to the infamous armored flying tanks, starting off with fighters and interceptors. Polikarpov I-5. This biplane fighter was truly ancient by 1941. It was considered totally obsolete. Units still flew it, however, mainly as night bombers during the desperate initial defense. Polikarpov I-15, a tough little biplane known as the Chato. It earned its reputation during the Spanish Civil War. When World War II began, it was quickly relegated to training and coastal defense roles. Polikarpov I-153, the legendary gull-wing Chaika or Seagull. This was one of the last successful combat biplanes ever built. Its extreme maneuverability made it a menace at low altitude well into 1942. Polikarpov I-16, known by its pilots as the Ishak or Little Donkey. This compact monoplane was the Soviet Union's primary fighter in 1941. It took heavy losses but proved incredibly rugged in combat. MiG-1, an early attempt to the high-altitude interceptor. It suffered badly from stability issues at speed. It was quickly modified and replaced by its more famous successor, MiG-3, a difficult machine to fly, but a truly stellar performer at altitude. This aircraft excelled above 15,000 feet. It was vital for defending key Soviet cities from high-flying reconnaissance. LAGG-3, the nickname for this machine, was the Lacquered Guaranteed Coffin. Early pilots complained bitterly that it was heavy and notoriously underpowered. Later upgrades drastically improved its reputation. Next, Lavochkin LA-5, a dramatic wartime transformation. Designers took the LAGG airframe and successfully bolted on a powerful new radial engine. It instantly became a major turning point fighter. Lavochkin LA-7. Many experts consider this to be the finest Soviet piston engine fighter of the war. It was highly agile, very fast, and extremely deadly. The top Soviet ace, Kozhedub, flew this machine, Yakovlev Yak-1, the simple, reliable foundation of the entire Yakovlev fighter family. Its excellent handling and high rate of production made it crucial for achieving air superiority in 1942. Yakovlev Yak-3, incredibly light, powerful, and highly responsive. This aircraft was an absolute menace in close combat at low altitude. German pilots were specifically ordered to avoid dogfighting with it. Yakovlev Yak-7, initially conceived as a tandem seat trainer, it was easily converted into a truly capable frontline fighter. Its ruggedness ensured its widespread use across the Soviet Air Force. Yakovlev Yak-9, the most mass-produced Soviet fighter of the war. It was versatile and adaptable. It served successfully in many roles, from long-range escort to dedicated tank busting, continuing with ground attack. Ilyushin IL-2, the famous Sturmovik. This was the legendary flying tank designed entirely around its armored cockpit. It instilled pure terror in German ground forces wherever it appeared. Sukhoi Su-2, a relatively obscure light bomber that suffered heavy losses in the initial invasion. It was derived from a reconnaissance prototype. It was quickly replaced by more robust designs like the PE-2, Ilyushin IL-10, the late war successor to the Il-2. This aircraft was sleeker, significantly faster, and better protected. It participated heavily in the final offensives into Germany and the Far East. Moving on to light night bombers and trainers, Polikarpov PO-2, known affectionately as the Kukuruznik or crop duster. It was incredibly slow, quiet, and highly maneuverable. The famous night witches used this simple biplane for constant harassment raids. Polikarpov Ililite Ir-1, a dated biplane design based heavily on the British DH-9A. It was long obsolete by the start of the war. It saw brief service in training and liaison roles only. Now this is the Polikarpov R-5A standard, rugged biplane used primarily for reconnaissance. It was widely used for photo mapping and observation. Some were still pressed into light bombing duties in 1941. Polikarpov RZ. This aircraft was a modernized, slightly sleeker version of the old R-5 design. It featured an enclosed cockpit. It was mainly used for observation and light ground attack duties before the invasion. Yakovlev UT-1, a very simple, single-seat monoplane trainer. It was used to introduce new fighter pilots to the higher speeds of modern aircraft. Only a few were used for emergency liaison. Now this is the Yakovlev UT-2, the standard tandem seat basic trainer. This essential aircraft taught thousands of pilots how to fly the Yak and Lavotikin fighters. Critical to the Soviet pilot training pipeline. Up next, Yakovlev Yak-6, a small twin-engined utility transport built largely from wood. It specialized in transporting urgent supplies and personnel behind the ever-shifting front lines. Now let's look at Frontline dive bomber, Petlyakov PEE-2, the most important Soviet light bomber of the war. It was fast, highly successful, and capable of dive bombing. Its speed made it difficult for early German fighters to intercept. The next one, Petlyakov PEE-3, a dedicated heavy night fighter and reconnaissance variant of the famous PE-2. It featured specialized cameras and heavier forward-facing armament for interception duties. Arkhangelski AR-2. This was a deep modernization of the older SB bomber. It featured improved dive bombing capabilities and better aerodynamics. Its frontline career was quickly overshadowed by the P-2, Tupolev Tu-2, an excellent, high-performance twin-engine medium bomber. It was superior to most contemporaries. Its entry into service was delayed, but it became a primary Soviet bomber late in the war. Now let's look at medium, long-range, and heavy bomber. Ilyushin DB-3, the primary Soviet long-range bomber before the Great Patriotic War. It was the direct predecessor to the famous Il-4, used extensively for long-range missions over Germany in 1941. Then, Tupolev SB, one of the most advanced bombers in the world during the mid-1930s. By 1941, it was badly aging. Yet, it served extensively in frontline combat, often incurring heavy losses. Then Yermolayev Ur-2, a heavy, long-range bomber designed for high-altitude operations. It was often plagued by issues with its engines. It participated in early strategic bombing missions, including raids on Berlin. Petlyakov P-8, the only four-engine Soviet heavy bomber built and operated during the war. It was used for prestigious high-profile missions. It was a potent emblem of Soviet strategic capability. Tupolev TB-3, a massive, very slow, four-engined heavy bomber biplane. It was completely obsolete but incredibly durable. It was famously used as a night bomber and for carrying fighters in the Zveno experiments. Next, Tupolev TB-1, a very early twin-engined monoplane bomber from the 1920s. It was entirely obsolete by 1941. It was strictly relegated to utility transport roles throughout the war. Next up, reconnaissance. Yak-1R. This was a specialized reconnaissance version of the original Yak-1 fighter. It was adapted with internal cameras for high-speed photographic missions near the combat zone. Yak-9R, a dedicated tactical reconnaissance variant based on the highly successful Yak-9. It provided high-speed, protected observation, essential for fast-moving Soviet ground offensives. The next one, Yak-9DD, the extended-range variant of the Yak-9, capable of long-distance delivery. The DD stands for Dalny Действия, or long-range action, crucial for escorting U.S. bombers later in the war. Up next, Petlyakov PA-2R, a specific variant of the light bomber, adapted for dedicated reconnaissance. It carried specialized camera gear in place of heavy bombs for high-speed photo runs. Now let's look at naval aircraft and seaplanes. Beriev MBR-2, a reliable single-engine flying boat. It earned the nickname Sea Cow due to its rather clumsy appearance. It performed vital coastal patrols and anti-submarine duties. Beriev KOR-1, a compact, short-range scout seaplane designed for shipboard catapult launches. It was primarily used for observation duties from Soviet cruisers and battleships. Beriev KOR-2, a later, much-improved catapult-launched observation seaplane. It was faster and more robust than its predecessor, widely used for artillery spotting and reconnaissance in the fleets. Chayat-Verikov MDR-6, a fast, twin-engined reconnaissance flying boat with a very modern, streamlined design. It served extensively patrolling a vast Soviet northern and far eastern coastline. Next, Chevrolet SH-2, a small, versatile amphibian biplane. It was heavily relied upon for liaison, medical transport, and general utility work in hard-to-reach remote areas. Moving on to transports and utility. Lisanov Li-2, the Soviet-manufactured version of the American Douglas DC-3 airliner. It formed the true backbone of Soviet military air transport. Absolutely essential for supply and paratrooper drops. Tupolev PS-84. This was the exact initial designation of the Soviet-built Douglas DC-3. It was quickly superseded by the Li-2 designation, a critical military transport asset. Sherbakov She-2, a simple twin-engine transport designed specifically for operations from short, unprepared airstrips. This aircraft was excellent for reliable, consistent frontline resupply missions. Finishing off with gliders, Antonov A-7, a medium-sized assault glider, often towed by older bombers like the SB. It played a vital role in delivering troops and urgently needed supplies to Soviet partisan groups. Grabovsky G-11, a smaller utility transport glider. It was designed for simple mass production, mostly using wood. It was crucial for secretive missions supplying guerrilla fighters deep behind German lines.